Hi buddies, if you want to see how I created this beautiful look, just stay tuned. It's Sophia, and I want to say a huge thank you to my existing viewers and subscribers. Thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for watching my videos. And if you are watching my videos for the very first time, please kindly click the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, watch our videos, and stay tuned. Thank you. First, I cleaned the face with my micellar water and wipes, and I went straight into my moisturizer, blended into the skin. Then I went ahead with my face primer, which I'm applying on the face and massaging with my hands. Remember, your primer does not go to the under eye. So here I use the mattifying primer for our brows. I love to mattify the brow area to keep it dry and free from oil. So to moisturize the lips, I'm using this lip balm, this very nice lip moisturizer, to moisturize and soften the lips. For the foundation here, I use the three foundations. I use V-Beauty, I use Milani, and I use the Lexxisso foundation. So I make sure I mix those three foundations to give me the right undertone I wanted. Now guys, when it comes to foundations, I am a mixologist. That is to tell you that I don't use one foundation. I barely use one foundation for my jobs. I use 2 or 3 basically for my jobs. If I don't do that as well, I might as well just do color correcting using the color theory formula. But yeah, it's faster when I mix the foundations to get the exact undertone. Now when you are blending your foundation, make sure you are light-handed. Your beauty blender should be damp, not wet though guys. If you know your beauty blender is usually wet, please squeeze it. Make sure you drain out all the water in it before you use, please. And if you know you don't have the strength to drain out, you can use an handkerchief to wrap the beauty blender and squeeze it in it to soak up all the moist in it. Then blend your foundation very well. Make sure it penetrates and sits beautifully on the skin before you proceed with the cream blush. So I love to use this lip palette as my cream blush because it's not so matte. It's very creamy, and I love the finish it gives. While blending your blush, make sure you use the same side you use in applying the foundation. Make sure you use the same side of the beauty blender you use in applying the foundation, so you do not stain the other side of the beauty blender with the blush, because you're going to need the other parts. So yeah, so just blend your blush like that. Remember to be light-handed. Do not use force, so that your beauty blender will not be lifting up what you're trying to place on the skin. So blend lightly, spread upwards. Avoid harsh lines. Make sure you don't have harsh lines anywhere between the foundation and the blush. So I'll just blend that like that, and then I'll just put some at the tip of the nose, just to give it a little color. So for the concealer, I use the Nuban Beauty, and I apply that on the under eye lid to make sure to use very little and be as fast as possible, because this concealer dries extremely fast. You don't need to leave it to get dry for some time to give you a fuller coverage, because it is a super matte foundation that dries extremely fast. So you have to be fast with your application, right? So after applying the Nuban Beauty, I still brighten up the concealer a bit using my Ferarucci palette, this lighter shade from the Ferarucci palette, just to make sure that it's the Nuban is not giving me an overall yellow undertone. So I just added that on top of it with my brush to just mix the two colors together. Then I dive straight into blending of the foundation. Guys, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, please. And please, you can as well request for the looks you want. It is easier and faster for me that way if I see the looks you want me to create. So yeah, I went straight to blending the concealer with the other side of the beauty blender. Remember, I told you not to switch sides when blending the blush. So the part I didn't use in blending the blush is what I'm using to blend out my concealer, so the blush side would not stain the highlights. So blend lightly as well, and be fast, guys. Be fast, because the concealer is drying as fast as possible, especially when you're working under AC or directly under your fan. So after blending the concealer, remember to type lightly in the process. After blending the concealer, the next thing you want to do is to set, right? So I prefer to use powder, my finishing powder, to set the concealer right before I go ahead with my setting powder. So it depends on how you work or how you you know, which is better for you, you can as well go straight into your setting powder without using a finishing powder. So yeah, I use the finishing powder, and I'm using my setting brush from Real Technique to apply that powder. Make sure your highlight is well blended before you set, so it doesn't get sticky. So make sure your highlight is well blended before you set with your powder. Less is more, guys. Do not pack too much powder all in the name of setting. In as much as the under eye is, you know, well hydrated and moisturized, if you use too much product, you will end up drying out that part, and then it's not going to give you that smooth and flawless base. So to further set the highlight, I'm using the no color setting powder from RCMA to set. This will help prevent creasing, cracking, you know, give it a more mattifying hold. That is the work, and it's also give it an extra shine. So after setting the whole of the highlight, I went straight into the contour with this contour brush and coconut shade from my Beauty palette. When you're working on a light skin, you want to make sure you are not going overboard with your colors. Don't be tempted to pick the dark shades. Don't be tempted to pick dark shades when you're contouring. You can see how I use a chocolate shade to contour for her skin, because I don't want it too dark. I don't want dark hash lines. I don't want dark colors or whatever. Then I further went with a lighter shade, which is Sweet Honey, to contour the, you know, the peak area of her nose, because I don't want that part dark. I prefer the brow to the eye side to be more dark, so that my white can be properly snatched. And I'll just use a lighter shade downwards, something closer to her skin tone. Right, so I repeated the same process on the other side. Make sure your white is very, very, very sharp and visible. That is the beauty of the nose contouring. So position your hand in a way that you are getting that white shape. The white shape is very defined. Make sure you position your hand that way. So if you need to go over to the left hand side to get the left hand side better, you do it. If you know you can stay at the center and work both of them, you do it. The most important thing is to make sure that it is straight. So your model should be looking at you straight. She should not bend her head or slant her head. Let your model's head be straight. Then you can snatch the nose to perfection. Make sure there's no harsh line. So while you are applying, be blending. While applying, be blending. I keep saying it, that blending is the key to a flawless makeup. If your blending game is top notch, forget it, sis, bro. You are there already. Just take your time to blend, right? So next I'm going in with my powder blush, and I'm mixing these two colors as well. Then I use the Real Technique brush to apply the blush right on the apples of the cheek, blending upwards to the temples. Do not put your blush onto the highlights, guys. Do not put your blush to the highlights. Make sure you avoid harsh lines. So to set the rest of the face, I mixed two powder shades. I used the Elegance and Beauty palettes, and with my powder brush, I am just making sure I use the exact shade of my client, and I'm just blending that in to make sure it sits on the skin. So guys, there is one thing I really do not like when it comes to this makeup product thing. One process that I really don't enjoy is this cream highlighting or whatever. If there is a way I could work without doing the cream highlight, I'd be so happy, because I had to skip doing the cream contour. I just went straight to powder contour, and I love it. If I can do that with highlight, I'll be so happy. Like, the process doesn't give me joy. Like, this is the only routine I don't enjoy when it comes to makeup. I don't know about you. Tell me about yours, guys. So yeah, to bake, I use the Beauty by AD setting powder to bake. You know what your baking does now? Your baking, you know, gives you a brighter under eye, helps to hold your eyeshadow fallout. You know, baking is not compulsory, but it is necessary if you want to do it. Personally, I don't bake every time. I really do not bake every time. Most times I don't feel the need to bake, because I feel like, okay, my highlight is popping as much as I want, or I'm pretty much going to be very careful with my eyeshadow, especially when I'll be using more matte eyeshadow. So I don't really have eyeshadow fallouts to catch. But when you know you want to be doing like shimmery eyes, you're going to work with glitters, you're going to work with pigments, it's advisable that you bake, you know, to help you hold your eyeshadow fallouts if you're not going to be neat while doing that. Yeah, so you want to make sure you use the right shades. If you're going to bake, you use the right shades for people that are fair, and use the dark shades for people that are dark, and the likes. So next I went into my brows. You know how I do my brows. If you're yet to see my brow video, please go down, set down. You'll see my first video I posted on YouTube channel is that is it the first. Okay, the first full video is a detailed brow tutorial you do not want to miss, guys, trust me. Yeah, at this point, if you're yet to subscribe, please do subscribe, guys. Please subscribe and make sure you watch my videos. Most importantly, if you're watching the videos, please do not skip the ads. It is very, very important for me, please. Gracias. So yeah, I am just doing my strokes with my Davies pencil. Well sharpened pencil, by the way, guys. Make sure your pencil is well sharpened. Then you just do your strokes. Shade lightly. You don't want the brows to be too dark, especially since you're working on a light skin. So shade lightly so the brow doesn't come out very dark. Look at how neat the outline is, even without concealing. That is how it should be. Right, so to conceal the brow, I'm using my flat round brush and my concealer shade from the Ferarucci palette to conceal. Make sure you maintain a steady hand while doing this. Rest your hand on the face. At this point, you don't have to be scared of a transfer. If you set your skin well, you do your skin prep well, you blend your foundation, your powders, everything well, you won't be scared of actually placing your hands on the skin, because there won't be transfer, honestly. But if you don't blend well and you see that you have transfer, you place your finger and it transfers, just know you did not blend well. You didn't do You need to work on that blending, girl. So after working on the brows and setting with the brows, I went straight into the eyeshadow. So I'm using this eyeshadow palette to do my transition, this wine, like a wine kind of shade here, to do the transition on both sides. Yeah, I started with the transition first because I'm doing like a half cut squeeze on those eyes and something very, very colorful like you saw in the beginning of the video. So first I use this wine shade to do the transition on both sides. Blend that transition. When you're doing cut squeeze, guys, make sure your transition is deep. How do I say it? Make sure your transition color pops. Do not use an overall light shades that won't show. You need something deep. That's why you see me adding this brown to further deepen and darken the crease, so that when I cut, my cutting will pop. I don't know if you get me, guys. And there's one thing about colors. You know, colors you use on light skin and it pops. Yeah, it might not even pop on a dark skin. And while colors you use on a dark skin that seem natural will pop more, like go overboard on a light skin. So just know how to rotate your colors. Get familiar with your color. Make sure color theory. You marry the color wheel, right? So you know how this colors works. So I use the orange shade to blend off harsh lines between the crease and the brow bone. Something very light like the orange to just make sure there's no harsh lines between the crease and brow bone. So whatever I'm doing to one side is what I'm doing on the other side as well. Make sure your brush does not touch your eyeshadow, so stretch the skin if you have to. Stretch the skin so you would have enough room to blend well without touching the brows or staining the brow, the concealer around there. So stretch the skin and blend to your satisfaction. Then you can now go into cutting the crease. So yeah, to cut the crease, you need your flat brush and the concealer that is creamy and not matte. So I use the same brush I use in concealing my brow to do my cut crease, because I like how flat the brush is. It gives me a precise sharpness all the time. So I just put my concealer at the tip of the brush. Take note, guys, not at the side, just at the tip of the brush, and then you use it to draw a semicircle. You know how half of a circle is, but you're not entirely going all the way to the end. You just stop it at the center of the eyes. So as you cross from the third dot, you want to make sure your hand is lifting up gradually, like your hand is going up gradually, and then start coming down when you go past the center. That is just the trick. You know what cut crease does now? It gives you an illustration of a larger eyelid space, particularly for people that have hooded eyes, monolid eyes. But when you're working on someone that has like the normal eye shape, you can see their visible eyelid and their crease. You want to make sure you maintain the size of their eyelid, as I'm doing here. And I'm not basically making an eyelid bigger or larger, I'm just maintaining the size. So after cutting the crease, next up is you want to blend the concealer. Make sure you don't have excess concealer on the eyelid so your eyeshadow won't break. If you know your eyeshadow has been breaking all this while, there are two things involved. It's either you used excess eyeshadow base or concealer and you didn't blend it out totally before setting, or your application was very rough, like you're just building your colors on top of each other, you're not necessarily blending it in. So to fill in the eyelid, I used this green shade from my eyeshadow palette using my transition fluffy brush to apply the colors. I'm not just building the colors, I keep blending in the process. And also do not go back to the eyes with an empty brush, right? Do not touch somewhere bare with an empty brush. If you do that, you're just going to use the brush to lift up the base you have underneath, be it your concealer or your eyeshadow base. Another trick is make sure your eyeshadow does not finish on the brush before you refill if you're working on the eyelid. But if you're working on the crease, you need just little eyeshadow, as little as possible. In order to spice up this look, I decided to go in with glitters on the, the cut crease itself. So here I use a tiny brush to apply my luster glitter and pigment glue to just apply it, forming another line on the crease, the particular line I cut. So after putting the glitter glue, I use the same brush to start picking my eyeshadow one after the other. Start picking my glitters one after the other, sorry. So there I'm just applying the glitters at that line, bit by bit, just to give the eyes a sexy kind of sparkle and dazzle. Yeah. So after doing this, I did exactly the same thing to the other eye. I applied my luster glue and then I used the same brush to place stones, to place glitters. You can use your stones, you can use your glitters, you can use graphic liner, whatever you want, just to be creative around there. But I decided to use glitters in this case. So after filling the glitters, I went ahead to blend the outer corner of the eyes with a brown shade to just give it a depth at that corner, like that. So I just blended it in like that, upwards and downwards, making sure I don't disturb my glitters I have there. Still on the transition there, I keep blending and blending to make sure I don't have ash lines there. Then I went ahead to dust off my setting powder using my highlight shade and this small brush. Make sure you don't go back with an empty brush when you want to dust off setting powder. So for the under eye, I applied an orange shade, like a very light orange shade, nothing too colorful, just to give it a little bit of color on the lower eyelid. It's more safer for you to do this before dusting your eyeshadow fallout, but based on the kind of person I am, I just do dust off my setting powder most times before doing anything on the waterline. There I fix my lashes, use my eyeliner to darken the lash band a bit. Then for the waterline I use white. It can be your white concealer, it can be your white corrector, it can be your white lip stains in your lip palette, or the single, or whatever that is white, your graphic liner, whatever that is white. Then I clean the lips. Before you work on the lips, make sure you clean off the lip moisturizer using your wipes before you put your lip stain on it. Guys, if you're enjoying this video to this point, this is the time for you to give me a thumb up. Give me a thumb up so I will know if you're feeling the video or not, and then I will know the kind of content to create. And also follow me, please. Subscribe. You can also get a link to my other channels. You can get a link to my TikTok, my Instagram, my Thread, my Facebook, all on the description down below. So please subscribe and encourage me, okay guys? For the lips, I use these 3 lips. I mix, like I say, you can barely see me using one shade of anything. I don't know, it's just in my nature to, to mix colors. Right after lining the lips, I went ahead with the orange shade. I do not like to use my lip stains applicator directly, guys. This is one thing I don't like to do, so I always find my way around it. Like, I just put the lip stains at the back of my palm, then I'll use my lip brush to apply it there. So you blend, make sure you blend well, make sure there are no harsh lines on the lips. You blend very, very well, then you can proceed with the plan. Blend your lips very well, so when your client eats or drink anything, the lip stain will not follow it. So take your time to blend and set the lips very, very well. Then I use my spray. I first went with my Kiss Beauty Almighty spray to set the face, and I use this lower lashes from Cosmetics to just give the eyes a better look. As you can see, if you know your clients get very, very teary, please do not do this. Avoid it. After fixing the lower lashes, I still went ahead to use my Seal and Lock spray just to give the makeup a long lasting hold. And guys, this is the finished look. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye.